Slamfest saw Peter Kapiris take the win and the lead in the championship. Whoa, it will be Peter Kapiris 4-1-5-4 with names like John Zappia, Ben and Victor Bray hot on his heels. The reigning champion has his work cut out for him this weekend at Portland.
You got Victor, you got Benny, you got John, Russell Pavey, Sean Misbuds here. He hasn't been to a Slamfest in a while, so he'll be out here to prove something. You got Pat Cabone, he's new, he'll want to push everyone out. So, mate, everyone, and these are all, like big runners in the Andrew series. So it's, got your job ahead of you.
The Slamfest races are looking to turn up the heat on track to match the temperature here in Portland.
It's usually a lot cooler than this today. Like we got a big fan there, and you're gonna have to get it running because it's just so hot here.
Yeah, it's good. Nice tropical weather, so it feels like I'm back home in Queensland. Definitely not in Victoria. Portland and all the regional tracks, they bring it on everywhere. They make you feel at home, they make you feel loved, and it's enjoyable to come to. In the city and all them type of races like Willowbank and Sydney and all that, they can go see it every Wednesday night, every Saturday night. So I think they're not bored of it, but the wow factor of let's go watch Door Slammers run ain't there anymore. So it's just like, let's go to the Winter Nationals this weekend. Where here it's like, man, these guys might not be back for 2 years. Let's all go out and watch them, and the whole town comes.
As it gets hotter, the track tends to go away. So hopefully in the afternoon, if it cools down a little bit, it'll be like, see that cool breeze. Yeah, if it gets a cool breeze, that's what happened in Heathcote. It was a hot day, but a cool breeze was blown over the track, which kept it at a nice temperature. So if a cool breeze keeps coming, it should be fine, But if we don't get a breeze and the track gets really hot, well, yeah, it makes it a bit breezy.
Oh, look, too cold's no good, too hot's no good. And I'd say at the moment it's just right. The sun's out. It's not, 40 degrees, it's probably 30 degrees. I think we're looking pretty good, and it'll get better as the afternoon gets on.
At the end of the day, I just got to work out how to get down it better than the other 7, and I think it should be good. The temperature in the air, the sun's better than rain, that's all I have to say. I'm happy for 40 degrees as long as it's sunshine.
With tough competition and testing conditions, what will be needed to take the win this weekend?
I don't think it really matters how quick you can do it, as long as you can consistently get from A to B. And then, you're in with a chance.
With the guys of like Kapiris and Zap in the house, mate, they don't let anything up. Dad's on form. I've been struggling a little bit, but, I've been doing a fair bit of changes and testing, and hopefully this weekend pays off.
Welcome along to round 2 of Slamfest here at South Coast Raceway in Portland, Victoria. Of course, I'm Jason Bean. Joining me in commentary is Rusty Gregory. Rusty, what a fantastic weekend. We're set for a big show.
Indeed we are. Beautiful weather, beautiful racing. As we have a look at the points coming into round 2, Peter Kapiris is on top, 105 points. John Zappia close on his heels though, back there on 100. Victor Bray, John Brunner, Ben Bray, Russell Pavey, Frank Mamone and Marcus Chambers rounding out the very tough top 8.
Russell Pavey has shown he means business here at Portland, setting the pace for the weekend with an unofficial track record on his practice run.
We might be able to fix up that unofficial part just shortly. 4-1-4-5, so pretty fast, and certainly we're capable of more, and we're looking for more as well. We've been working hard in between meetings. We've got some new parts in the car, and we think it can do a lot more yet, so we'll just keep working from there. Now we're into the stuff that really counts, and I know all the other boys will be stepping up too, so it'll be game on from here.
Portland always delivers great action, so what makes this such a popular place to race?
There's so many things, They're great people and a great town, The guys here have been working really hard on providing a great facility, and just the atmosphere of the place. People love coming here. We do too. We love to race here. The fans are very appreciative. It's a great day out for everyone.
Russell had some issues last round at Heathcote. He's hoping some changes to the car will mean a different story here at Portland.
We had a little gremlin that we couldn't put our finger on, and we got caught out in the first round. The car dragged through the beams and gave us a red light at the start, which is a bit unfortunate. But we got hold of that problem and got it sorted out, and ready to move on from there. We've been running with a fairly basic clutch setup, just trying to get a good handle on the car in every situation. We've moved over to a lock-up style clutch, which gives us a much greater tuning window, and that's the result of it today. It sort of put us right into the zone where we wanted to be, and gives us something to work from.
The all-important question is, can Russell take the win here at Portland?
Yeah, look, I'm pretty happy with where we're at, and we won't try major changes from here. We'll just sneak up on it from here and just try and build on what we've got.
As we head towards qualifying here at round 2 of Slamfest, of course, we see 3 new drivers in the 2013 series taking on 5 very experienced ones.
Exactly, we've got 2 of our regulars up now. It is Benny the Kid Bray taking on Big Rusty Russ Pavey in that gorgeous United Tools 63 Corvette. Both guys coming off a weekend that they'd probably rather forget down in Heathcote, not the results that either of them really would have wanted.
No, certainly not. Both will be wanting to capitalise on this beautiful weather here in Portland. Of course, Portland 362 k's southwest of Melbourne, and as you mentioned, right there on the beautiful coast. So here we go. Benny Bray will be taking on the very, very tough and certainly very worthy opponent in Russell Pavey. Remember, in qualifying, this is where they get to put down their one and only pass to put them into the seeded into the field. And then, of course, after that, we go racing with round 1.
The great thing to remember as well about Portland as a racetrack is being right on the coast, it means it's down on sea level, which means these engines make a lot of horsepower. It's a very, very flat, smooth track, and it means that these guys can put all the horsepower that they make to the ground. So hopefully we're going to see some quick times. Of course, the quickest ET that we've seen out of the Slamfest cars so far this season, Peter Kapiris with a 382, I should say, and top speed so far from John Zapier with a 192 mile per hour blast. For those of you who are more inclined, 310 kilometres per hour in 200 metres.
Wow, and that's why we love these absolutely awesome vehicles. Now, of course, Russell Pavey running as an independent, top marks all season long throughout 2012 and 2013, fronting up to all the rounds all over Australia. Benny Bray, on the other hand, of course, this is what he does for a living.
Well, both cars bumping their way into stage, looking for some quick times off the trailer here. Good launch for Russell Pavey. Ben Bray just smokes the tyres, probably punching second gear there, and Russell Pavey doing a drive job. It is a very short braking area. You can see curves around to the left, very unusual for a drag strip, but it is a very short braking area. So these guys have got to drive it at the finish line and after the finish line.
Well, talk about driver at and after the finish line. Have a look at this. Russell Pavey, before the chute comes out, the car starts to get loose and then steps sideways right there. But wow, I tell you what, we've got a 427 at 249 kilometres for Russ Pavey, and Benny Bray runs on the board 5032, 165 k's.
Can you tell that Russell Pavey's got ambitions to drive a sprint car one day?
Just a little. He's certainly, you know, they say there's no corners in drag racing. Well, double entendre there, because for a start, you've got the corner at the end of it, and of course he's doing a bit of lock-to-lock for us. All right, Grant O'Rourke, first time in 2013 competing in the Slamfest series, down from Queensland, of course originally over from WA, and it's great to see Grant back in the driver's seat. Of course, wife Debbie has been driving for quite some time now, and in beside Grant is going to be Victor Bray.
Yeah, Grant O'Rourke, a very, very experienced racer, has been racing probably for upwards of 20 years. At one stage, he actually had the quickest small block powered sedan in the world. And by small block, I mean a genuine small block. It was under 380 cubic inches. Very, very quick car, ran deep into the 6-second zone. Obviously, this car's got all the latest technology for top door slammer. It's got the Hemi-style engine, and the big supercharger sitting on top, the PSI supercharger. So he is looking pretty good. He's got all the gear to go some rounds here today.
Yeah, it certainly does. Grant O'Rourke, of course, one of those guys that you can never underestimate. Speaking of underestimation, of course, Victor Bray. Wow, we saw him take a win at the end of last season and made it to the semis at round 1 at Heathcote, but he's certainly, event after event, really starting to get some good form on board for the Sid Chrome car.
Yeah, the consistency is really there now for Victor Bray, and it's something that's been lacking a little bit over the last 2 or 3 years. And he credits a lot of that consistency down to the Slamfest series, running on these different regional tracks, different conditions, and it just gives them a much wider tuning window when they've got that much more data on the race car.
Well, different perspective for that lady right there, Debbie O'Rourke, about to send her husband down this 8-mile strip. And of course, as per usual, Graham Frawley doing all the technical deals up front for Victor Bray. Well, qualifying session number 1, the sole qualifying session. Let's see how they go. Victor out with an 091 reaction, very sharp on the lights. How does he go? 416, 289 kilometres, and O'Rourke right there with him, 423, 278. Welcome to Slamfest, Grant O'Rourke.
Yeah, Grant O'Rourke, great run there right off the trailer. He had a little bit of sideways action going in the braking area as well. Let's go on board with Grant O'Rourke now. You can see Victor Bray got out on him a little bit at the start line, just started turning the tyres, but still a good run. And right here, jumps on the brakes, the car starts moving around on him, and he still gets it around the first turn off. That's a good drive job.
Well, Victor Bray showing some great reaction skills, 091 to a .279, and that will win a drag race when you're in front every time.
Absolutely. The crew's packing the chutes. We're going to catch up with Russell Pavey back there in the pits.
Russell Pavey, 427, not quite as quick in qualifying.
Yeah, we discovered the thin edge of the sword there, a little bit over the mark, and we ended up with a bit of a skatey run there, unfortunately.
What was the difference?
Just a little bit more clutch. Everything the same as the previous pass where it ran 1.4, and yeah, it shows you how a very small adjustment can make a big difference to your ET.
So will you change things back to the way they were for the next one?
Well, that's the $6 million question. As the track cools, it'll get better and better and be able to take more clutch. So the question is do you back it down looking for a safe pass, or do you hot it up and try and stay in front of the other guys?
Well, we've seen two pairs qualified. We have got two to go this time around. John Zapier across from the west, and he'll be taking on Pat Carboni from South Australia.
Yeah, Pat Carboni, gorgeous looking car, this one, the Camaro. Races out of South Australia. We have seen him race over in Perth in the Andrew Series, but this is the first time that we've seen him in the Slamfest Series, as you said. Great to see him racing on the short track here at Portland this weekend.
Now, John Zapier was runner-up at the first round from Heathcote, and of course recorded that quickest kilometres per hour, 308 over the 8th mile. So he's showing some very good form, and of course is wanting to go that one step further here at round 2 and assert some dominance. Will he be able to do so? I guess as the day progresses, we will find out.
Yeah, John Zapier, one of the real hitters when it comes to the Slamfest racing. Finished only 5th in the point score last year, but keep in mind he ran 2 less rounds than everybody else. Did not make it to the Townsville race or the Gladstone race last year. So still finishing 5th in such a tough field of door slammers, you know this guy is a champion.
Yeah, without a doubt. Of course, John, as you mentioned, he failed to run 2 of the final rounds. Of course, that certainly did cost him because he was up towards the top of the championship. All right, so the power play Camaro. You can see that the little wing on the front, of course, that is for the timers, to stop the timers.
Yep, takes advantage of the overhang rule, recently changed. John Zapier, of course, runs one of the little splitters as well on that car. Just basically makes the track that much shorter, a couple of inches shorter, which results in that very valuable thousandths of a second difference in your ET. John Zapier gets off the line, a very untidy run. The car was moving all about the place, a 4.19, 288 kilometres per hour. Good run, but Pat Carbone didn't even leave the start line.
So idling on through now. And the time will not represent where he wants to be, 12:41. Let's have a look at a replay. John Zapier, nice and clean until he gets into that braking area. And you see that bump once again, where we've seen Russell Pavey get loose. There, Carboni. Now, that's what happened to him. All right, so a non-representative time for Pat Carboni from South Australia. Let's have a chat with Grant O'Rourke.
Grant O'Rourke, hell of a way to kick off the qualifying there with that first run against Victor Bray. How was it?
Yeah, good, mate. Look, we're new at all this 8th mile stuff. What these guys do in these places is awesome. It's great for the sport. They're hard work on cars of this calibre. But I'm not in this by myself. There's another 8 or 9 guys here that are all in the same boat, you know. So it's different for us. And the other guys have done this for the last 18 months, 2 years. They've run around these tracks. So they've got a few laps up their sleeve on me. But no, look, we're having a ball. We're just sort of working our way through it. I'm pretty happy.
And pretty good time you got there.
Yeah, mate, look, obviously the fast guys are running 4.1s. We just ran a 4.2. Can't be complaining about that too much at all, you know. We're sort of right there with them. We can't expect to be on top.
You're on the start line there against Victor Bray, one of the best in the business. The lights go off. What was going through your mind?
Oh, mate, honestly, you don't worry about who's in the other lane. I get on really well with Victor. We're good mates. I only probably live 15 minutes away from him, but you don't worry about the other lane. You really are running your own race. All I look at is the centre line on the wall, or whichever lane you're in. Stay in the middle of it. The other guy's got to be a concern. You know, you can see him, but you don't worry about it. You really don't.
Grado Rourke playing down his underdog status there, but he is a hitter. He's got the horsepower, and I think he's going to be a factor here today. All right, one more pair left to come in this qualifying session. It will be the reigning champion and winner of the last round at Heathcote, Peter Kapiris, taking on first-time Slamfest racer for this season, Sean Mifsud.
Well, not only, of course, all of those things that you mentioned, but also he is the quickest man across the 8th mile. You touched on at the top of the show, 3.825 seconds. Now, the big lift cranes Camaro being driven by Sean Mifsud from New South Wales, of course owned by Queensland's John Canooly. And Canooly, very generous this weekend, has offered the drive to Sean. And Sean has snapped it up. Of course, normally we see him running his own top door slammers with, the Wild Willies originally. Of course, then he went to the Camaro, and now that beautiful Plymouth Duster.
And he's got quite the stable of door slammers, as he touched on. He's also got a 55 Chev in there as well. So a pretty nice garage to have. But when you get the opportunity to drive someone else's car, well, why not? Go out there and take it, and obviously get a bit more exposure for big lift cranes as well. All right, so the other racer on the other side, we haven't talked much about him now, but we have spoken about him plenty in the past. Peter Kapiris, what more can we say? He is the reigning champion, the quickest man in Slamfest. He won the last round at Heathcote. He is going to be a very, very tough man to stop here this weekend.
Oh, yeah, certainly is going to be one of the heavy hitters. You look around the pits and there are so many guys that are have the ability to be able to step up onto the winner's podium later tonight. Great shots, of course, Kapiris brothers to the left of screen. Sean Mifsud to the right of screen.
And good run on both sides. Oh, way out of shape for Sean Mifsud. That is a huge crash. Head on into the wall, bounces off the opposing wall. The good news is he's driving that car. He was on the brakes right until it came to a stop, and he is moving about, but that is a huge moment for Sean Mifsud.
Well, I have got goosebumps. Not only is it a huge moment, but of course he's driving somebody else's car. Struck the tyres, turned them, and it was all over. That is the biggest impact we have seen in Slamfest history, bar none, Rusty.
Yeah, that is not something you ever like to see. Let's go on board. This is going to be a very telling shot. You can see there, really driving the car with one hand, trying to correct it, and a huge hit. And then the second one, it's like a double punch for him. And you can see he's on the brake handle there, getting the car stopped. And, well, Sean Mifsud, I'm sure he'll be upset about crashing John Canooly's car, but hey, the main thing is he's A-OK looking at the footage.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he is conscious, he's moving around, he pulled the car up, that is the most important part. Of course, as we've said so many times, these cars can be replaced. It's all about the safety of the driver, and it looks like that chassis did what it was designed to do. So Sean Mifsud just being checked out by the paramedics. Of course, his son there with him, and that is the remnants of what was once a 5-second top door slammer.
Wow, that is a lot of damage on that car, but as you said, the chassis did exactly what it was designed to do. It needed to protect the driver, and by the look of it, it did that. Victor Bray, the number one qualifier, 4.16. PK coming in number 2 with a 4.192. John Zapier only a thousandth of a second behind with a 4.193. Grado Rourke, a great showing in his first Slamfest race. Russell Paby, Ben Bray, Pat Carbone, and Sean Mifsud rounding out the 8.
A good first up qualifying pass for you there.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I just can't get over what happened to Sean, you know. Like, it's not even his car, man. It's John Canooly's car, so I'm just shattered.
What did you see from your perspective?
I didn't see anything. I mean, it all happened behind me. Yeah, everyone said it was really close. I didn't see anything. Yeah, it knocks the wind out of your sails, you know.
Certainly does. We hear he's okay, but you were pretty lucky because it looked like you were a little bit slow off the start, and then you just seemed to take off, and it all happened behind you.
Yeah, I was really lucky I got out of there because he apparently come across into my lane. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how close he was. I didn't see him, so. But yeah, I mean, he's all right. Apparently he's out of the car and everything. But it's really sad to see something like that.
Sean, first qualifying, what happened?
The car got a bit loose in the shakedown today, and then we just went out for the first qualifier. I think we had the car a little bit too aggressive. It broke loose in second gear, and these things happen.
You're in one lane, all of a sudden you're in the next lane. Do you know what happened?
Oh, look, once the car broke loose, it turned left, clipped the wall, and then it drove over into the other lane and smacked the other wall.
And you were pretty close to your fellow competitor there as well.
Yeah, me and Peter are pretty close. I didn't give him a rub this time, maybe next time.
And I hear the worst thing is you were borrowing the car?
No, well, actually, I'm driving the car for someone. I didn't borrow it. It's a good friend of mine, John Canuli. He knew about it as soon as it happened. It's all right. We'll sort the car out and we'll go again.
I suppose the main thing is, are you okay?
Yeah, a little bit bruised, but I'm sure we're a bit sore tonight, but I'll recover.
And it was a good job that Peter took up in front of you, otherwise you would have taken him out as well.
Yeah, lucky. It might have softened the hit into the wall, but anyway, I'll talk to Peter about that later.
But at least you're smiling, mate. That's the main thing. And look, things are shaping up pretty nicely here.
Yeah, look, this is drag racing. It happens. It's happened to all of us. What do? You live and learn from it, and as long as no one gets hurt, that's the main thing.
Well, with all the qualifying now run and done, we'll be back right after this break with the action from round 1 of racing. Victor Bray, the godfather of top door slammer racing, has been to just about every track in Australia, and he's excited to be back at South Coast Raceway here in Portland.
It's great. Last couple of years that we've come here to the Slam Fest for Wishes down here at Portland, it's been a little bit overcast, a little bit of a sprinkle, and sort of took the shine off the day. Today, absolutely perfect. Perfect yesterday set up, perfect today for racing. It's great. When we first started coming here 3 or 4 years ago, the track was like a regional track that a lot of the local boys raced at. And it was a bit, went out there, didn't get running enough to get enough rubber build up on it, and there's a few parts of the facility that they couldn't take out 200 mile an hour cars, 200 metre cars. So the club here is just an extraordinary club. They've worked so hard, and this year they've come back here. Every time we come back here, there's improvements to the racetrack, the surface, the safety, the braking area. This year we've come back here, we've got so much different stuff that we've got to get out there and dial back in. It's like coming to a brand new racetrack, but it's a real credit to them the way they keep bringing it up and lifting the level of everything up here. It's a fantastic part of the country. It's a great place to come and race.
With a huge crowd here at Portland, once again Slamfest has shown why it's such a popular series.
I just think it's bringing Group 1 racing, professional drag racing into the regional areas. I mean, ever since we started coming here, they've had the Nitro funny cars here, the nostalgia cars. They've had a Raz round recently, so they're just fantastic. They come into these regional areas. That's where drag racing used to be. And then it moved into the cities when the great big tracks were built. And we sort of left all the regional Australia alone, and that's where I come up to in my early career. That's all I ever did was race in regional Australia, match race with all Casso and the Greg Thompson, Cole Dunn and Gaddy and all those guys. So it's just great to be back here in regional Australia. A few different tracks than what there was when I was out there. We got a couple of the same up in Gladstone and Mackay, but that's what drag racing has to get its roots. Back out in regional Australia. Australia's a very regional country. Get back out in the regional country, then have our big major events in the Sydneys and Perth and Brisbane and Melbourne and Adelaide. But you got to draw from all over Australia for those events, and the more people you got out in the regions, more people you get to those big races.
After making the semi-final at Heathcote, Victor is keen to go that one step further and take home the win.
We stepped it up a little bit, but it's not enough. Pete got through us by half a mudguard in that semi-final, so he should have stepped it up a little bit more. He stepped his up, I didn't step mine up enough, but that's why we come in and race. We don't just sit at home and talk about it. It's a nice cool breeze, track temperature's good, so we'll see how the boys go. I know a couple of them are going to step off, and I'm going to give it a go.
Fantastic crowds in to watch all the action. And of course, let's take a look at the ladder.
Yes, first matchup will be Russell Pavey taking on Grant O'Rourke. Second one will be Ben Bray and John Zapier. That is a huge matchup. Pat Carboni, Peter Kapiris and Victor Bray will be going on a solo pass, unfortunately due to that incident involving Sean Mifsud. All right, we move on to round 1 of eliminations now. It will be Grant O'Rourke taking on Russell Pavey. So the V8 Knights, Holden Monaro, about to take on his first duty in racing format here at Slamfest, and of course taking on one of the seasoned professionals. Of course, privateer, this guy runs with the support of United Tools, which in fact is his own business based on the Gold Coast. The Paint Depot, another long-time supporter of Russell Pavey. And as I mentioned, V8 Knights, of course, a fantastic V8's website. Check them out on the web. And as I mentioned, Grant O'Rourke, now from Queensland, originally was WA based,
but gee, great to see Grant back behind the wheel.
Yeah, it really is. Of course, a lot of the focus has been on his wife, Debbie, of course, with the alcohol funny car, and she has made a couple of hits in the door slammer as well. And Grant's kind of taken a bit of a back seat over the last 5 or 6 years, but it is great to see him back behind the wheel. He was known as an absolutely fearless driver in his youth. Of course, nicknamed Jungle Boy for many, many years. From a couple of commentators around the country, but he is an absolute professional when it comes to driving these cars, and you need to be. You cannot make mistakes when you're racing in this Slamfest series.
Oh, no, well, we've seen mistakes, and of course, they certainly do cost, both emotionally and out of the pocket as well. Alrighty, so Grant O'Rourke, we saw from him a 4.2. That was a good time for his first hit out at the 8th Mile Series. And Russell Pavey, well, he went 4.2 as well. On paper, great matchup.
Absolutely. Both cars bumping towards stage. You'll hear the revs start to come up. And what you've got to keep in mind, the tricky part for these guys has been right at the mid-track point, at the 1 to 2 gear shift. That's where they've all been turning. It looks like Grant O'Rourke's in front, and he takes the win. I don't want to say an upset win, but it is a win. Grant O'Rourke goes 4.23. Russell Pavey with a few problems, 4.76. Just not quite enough to get around there.
What consistency from O'Rourke. Well, Russell Pavey had some problems there. The car running a good 5 or 6 tenths from where we normally see it, and he nearly got across the centre line. But Grant O'Rourke running 2 4.2s in a row. Good showing from the V8 Knights HK Monaro driver. And he will make his way through to the semis with that run.
Yeah, discretion being the better part of valour there for Russell Pavey. Just took his foot off the loud pedal because he knew Grant O'Rourke was right beside him, and the last thing you want to do as a driver is put your car over the centre line and, worst of all, into the other lane. That is just a big no-no for these guys, and they take a lot of pride in their professionalism when it comes to driving.
Yeah, they certainly do. I mean, you've got two of the very best out there. John Zapier qualified third, we probably expect. And I know that's probably a little bit of a harsh thing to say, but we expect Zap to be at the top of the list. But, of course, that's where Victor's sitting. Victor's son, Ben, now coming through to take on the car of John Zapier here in the first round of racing. This will be a doozy of a round.
And it's no secret that Ben Bray's been struggling a little bit with the setup of this car. They've finally got Victor's 57 sorted out. Now they've got to get the Monaro sorted out. And they are trying all sorts of different things. They're changing around rear-end setups in the car, just trying to get the suspension sorted out in it. And believe it or not, that is where a lot of the ET and the speed is made up in these cars, in the suspension setup and, of course, the wheelie bar setup as well. So they are trying different things, but at this stage, it's not quite working for them. So Ben Bray comes in as a little bit of an underdog here against John Zapier.
Zapier looking a little animated in the cockpit there of the HQ Monaro. We can see him communicating with his crew chief out there, Lumpy Lorimer.
Ah, that's what they're doing. See that mirror in the bottom left-hand side of your screen? They're adjusting the mirror so that John can actually see the Christmas tree. Believe it or not, that huge supercharger hanging out the bonnet makes it very, very difficult to see the Christmas tree. So John actually relies on that little shaving mirror over there in the cockpit to help him.
Well, any way you can get to see the Christmas tree lights, of course, those supercharger and injector hats, they sit a good 2 foot tall off the bodywork. And as Rusty mentioned, needing to use a little bit of extra help. So, it looked like it was going to be Ben Bray, but Zap has driven around him right on the finish line. 4:01, 298 kilometres per hour. Beats Benny Bray's 4:26 at 271 kilometres.
Well, I tell you what, Ben Bray's crew are absolutely pumped. That was a close race. Margin of victory only a little bit more than a tenth of a second at the finish line. A little bit of consternation on the face of the crew of John Zapier. Let's go on board and see exactly how close this is. Great run from Ben Bray. A little bit of a wiggle, but definitely a step in the right direction. And that horsepower from John Zapier just drives around him in the deep end.
Well, how deceptive these shots are. You look at that shot and it appears as though John Zapier just gets him. But by the onboard shot from Ben Bray, wow, it was all over right about there.
Yeah, Ben Bray's crew really got that car working well, picking up the front wheels. Let's go and chat with Grant O'Rourke after that fantastic first round win.
Grant O'Rourke cracking past there against Pavey. There wasn't much in it.
Nah, there wasn't much in it at all, mate. He was sort of with a side-by-side issue about half track, and he obviously smoked the tyres or rattled, but he was there and then he wasn't. He was gone, so I stayed with it, and the car moved around again. Yeah, look, we've got another one. This is a bracket car at the moment. We run 423, I think, 2 runs in a row. So, no, it's all right. It's all good.
Well, great to see Grant O'Rourke happy about the consistency of that beautiful V8 Knights HK Monaro. Alrighty, Pat Carboni now to take on our series leader after one round, Peter Kapiris.
Well, Peter Kapiris, very ugly attempt at a burnout there. It's like the car just didn't want to turn the tyres. No problems for Pat Carboni, though. Now, this is a huge matchup for Pat Carboni. First time in Slamfest, first elimination round, had problems in his qualifying run, only recorded a 12-second pass, and he's taking on the guy who won the last round at Heathcote. He won the championship last year, and he's got low ET of the series so far this year. That's not an easy task by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, they always say that it's harder to defend than it is to attack. And Carboni, he's on the attack. He knows that his hardware has got the ability to match him against these big boys. But of course, Peter Kapiris, he's got to try and defend and get through these rounds.
Such a gorgeous looking car as well on board with Pat Carboni. This car, of course, out of the US and has that little nose extension on as well to take advantage of the new nose overhang rules here in the Andra series, or in Australian drag racing, I should say. And Peter Kapiris with Mark Brew out in front of the car, as always. The very calming influence of Mark Brew, I might add. Peter Kapiris is a pretty happy, hyperactive sort of guy, and Mark Brew tends to just bring him back down to earth a little bit. They're a little bit like the odd couple, but it works. They're winning rounds and they're going quick.
Well, Peter Kapiris, the genius behind the wheel, and Mark Brew, the genius with the spanners. We're away, a 137 to a 339 reaction. It is Peter Kapiris all the way, 423. 253 kilometres per hour, and Carboni there, he goes right with him, 423.4. You know what, Rusty, that is the closest race we've seen in Slamfest. Just 2 1,000ths of a second separating them.
Wow, very, very close race. It was all one on the start line with that great reaction time from Peter Kapiris. Let's go and catch up with John Zapier after that first round win.
John Zapier, you're on fire, a new track record.
Yeah, no, that was a good pass, nice and straight. A little bit soft top end, but we had to set it up to make sure it went down the track, and we tried a bit harder off the line, but the track got better and we still didn't hit it hard enough. But hey, 401 put us to number 1. Now we're just got to look at the data and we'll just tweak it here and there and try and improve it where we can without risking overstepping the line, and we should be in good shape for a high 3.
With just one race to go, it is going to be Victor Bray who will be on a solo after that horrifying crash from Sean Mifsud in the John Cannulli Camaro. Of course, Mifsud was scheduled to pull in beside the king of burnouts, Victor Bray. And great to see that the Sid Chrome 57 Chevrolet is still out there mixing it up. Of course, was our top qualifier earlier this afternoon, going 4.16. And Rusty, you can say that now it's a get-out-of-jail card. Of course, he can concentrate, rather than on having to win a race, he can concentrate on just getting this car from point A to point B in the quickest time possible.
And that's exactly right. It's a great opportunity for them to test something new, something different. They may very well go out there with the same setup that they had in qualifying and just try to lay down another good 4.0 second number, 4.0 something, maybe even try and get a 390. But just touching a little bit further on Sean Mifsud, after the first round of after the qualifier, I should say, he was feeling a little bit sore and sorry for himself, and it was with good reason. He has been taken to the local hospital down here in Portland, and we understand he is undergoing some X-rays and has a possible broken leg. So our thoughts are with Sean, but fortunately it wasn't more serious given the severity of that accident.
Well, what can Victor Bray do here in round 1? Of course, was the number 1 qualifier. Is he able to back that up and put down a quick run? Comes out, car looks nice and settled, very clean, straight down the middle of the groove. What's he go? 407, 284 kilometres per hour. Rusty, quickest well, second quickest we've seen behind John Zappia.
Yeah, just a couple of ticks behind that new track record holder, John Zappia. Gets down there with a 4:07. Didn't need to worry about the reaction times. You might have noticed his reaction time was a 2-second reaction time. Not representative of what we've come to expect from Victor Bray, but still a 4:07. That has got to give him some confidence going into the next round.
Now we saw that onboard shot, just pumping the handbrake. As we have a look at the top door slammer results for round one, John Zappia 4:01.6, Victor Bray 4:07.8, Peter Kapiris 4:23.2, Pat Garboni the fourth there with 4:23.4, then Grant O'Rourke, Ben Bray and Russell Pavey.
Victor Bray 4.0 in the elimination. It's all coming together.
Yeah, mate, it was a buy run, so I got the opportunity to get out there and go after it pretty hard. That went a bit quicker. They went in 500 or 600s quicker. So, you know, that right lane, certainly I've been in the left lane all day, so the right lane is actually doing a bit better, I think. But again, I think the left lane still has the best start line, and the right lane's probably a little bit better further down, but they're both a bit loose right in the very top. So I think it's just a matter of keep dialing the car in and seeing how fast we can go. I think I got Peter Kapiris this time, so he's no slouch, mate. But you know, I don't know, you know, how fast we can actually go here, but I think, you know, Zap went an 0-1, so I suppose there's a 3 in this track. You'll probably see a 3 something before the day's out, and let's hope we're the one that does it.
Well, fighting words from Victor Bray. The semi-final matchups will be Grant O'Rourke taking on John Zappia and Peter Kapiris and Victor Bray doing battle, of course, the winners from the first round.
And we'll be back right after this break with more sizzling supercharged action. So we're back ready for all the semi-final action here at South Coast Raceway in Portland, Victoria. And great to see so many people coming in through the gates.
Crowd's enjoying the action as we have a look at your semi-final matchups in Slamfest. It is Grant O'Rourke taking on John Zappia and Peter Kapiris taking on Victor Bray. What a matchup we have there.
Well, we certainly have been treated to some great 8-mile racing already, and the crowd are loving it. As now we come into the semis, as we mentioned, Peter Kapiris from Victoria will take on Queenslander Victor Bray.
Yeah, two of the long-time door slammer racers, both former national champions in top door slammer in the Andra series, and both guys who love to put on a show for the crowd. Of course, Victor Bray, well known as the legend of door slammer racing when it comes to burnouts. He is the burnout king, and Peter Kapiris, he's got a pretty good reputation going as well over in that Dodge Saratoga.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about Victor Bray and burnouts, of course, fresh off a tour to Canberra for Summer Nats 26. He certainly put on a great smoke show, as did Benny down there in the nation's capital. Alrighty, so Peter Kapiris, again, looking at the performance levels from what we've seen already today, and Victor is the man that PK is going to have to try and step a notch up to get by and beat.
Yeah, not often Peter Kapiris comes in as the underdog, but you look at the numbers from the first round of racing. Victor Bray on that solo pass went 4:07. Peter Kapiris could only best a 4:23. So on paper, Victor Bray's got a 10th and a half on Peter Kapiris here, but we don't run him on paper. That's what we keep saying in Slamfest. It's fast, it's furious, it is door slammer racing at its best.
It certainly is, and as we see some of these creative shots, that's of course on board, looking back over the rear deck spoiler at the crew. Revs come up, here it is, semi-final number 1, Victor Bray and Peter Kapiris look side by side, although Peter Kapiris gets there 4:30, 215 kilometres per hour, struck the tyres hard, and Victor Bray 4:70. He unfortunately just didn't have enough in the tank.
No, both of those guys wanted it off the start line. Only 0.05 of a second between the reaction times between the two drivers. You see Peter Kapiris, he's now got the shifters on the steering wheel. Doesn't have the old tower set up, so you can see you can keep 2 hands on the wheel at all times, and it helped him here. You can see the car started smoking the tyres, and he was able to save it very, very quickly. But Victor Bray, a bit of an unusual one there. The car just sort of went silent. Looks like as he plugged second gear, maybe started smoking the tyres, and wisely rolls out of the throttle. We've got your second semi-final coming up right now. It is going to be Grant O'Rourke taking on John Zappia.
Well, Grant O'Rourke, we heard him a little earlier. He is pretty stoked to be going to the semis, and of course with the consistency of this car running into the 4-2 region. John Zappia, new track record holder here at South Coast Raceway, and he'll be wanting to see if he can try and improve on that earlier time that he put down, the 4:016.
Yeah, he'd love to get into the 3-second zone. Of course, it's becoming a bit of a regular thing in the Slamfest series. To get under that 4:00 mark, it really is a benchmark now. And I think we're going to see more and more 3-second passes from all the races as the series goes on.
Well, this is certainly a race for the Holden fans. Monaros, both sides of the strip. Of course, the 71 HQ Monaro for John Zappia and the 68 HK Monaro for Grant O'Rourke.
You can see the mirror there that John Zappia uses to see the Christmas tree. Obviously, this car, a right-hand drive car, and that big old supercharger there does make life a little bit difficult for seeing the Christmas tree and being able to stage the car. Now, it looks like Grant O'Rourke might have just overshot the start line there a little bit. And the difference here is Grant O'Rourke, although it is an Australian-bodied car, it is a left-hand drive car, so he's got exactly the same problem as John Zappia does in seeing the Christmas tree.
Now, also a notable difference there, Rusty, from that long shot. You can see the amount of unburnt fuel just hosing out of the exhaust headers for the O'Rourke Monaro, meaning that he's got a lot safer tune-up. He's got a lot more fuel going into the car, whereas John Zappia, he is evenly matching the amount of fuel versus the amount of air that he's going to pump through this big engine.
And speaking of that, when they whack the throttle just as they're coming into stage, that actually clears it out 9 times out of 10. It looks like it has for both cars. Promises to be a great race.
O'Rourke with some problems, gets out near the centre line, but it's Zappia down the centre. 4:065. 295 kilometres over that 8th mile or 200-metre strip. And right from the get-go, John Zappia showing dominance with the 71 HQ Monaro.
Yeah, a very telling shot from behind there for Grant O'Rourke. The car just drove right over to the centre line, which is not where you want to be. There's no grip, and you're certainly not going to win the race. John Zappia through to the final round again.
John Zappia, a near-perfect semi-final run there.
Yeah, not quite. Got a bit loose at half track and started to rattle, and I had to pedal it and get it back in the groove, and she was a bit wonky up the top end, but I didn't think it went that good, but 4:06 or something, that'll do as a good backup for the 4:01 track record. So yeah, the Foot Striker Monaro's going really well today. It's launching well, it's going dead straight. Just, you know, we knew that mid-track here, it hasn't quite got enough rubber on it, and it's a coarse surface. So just trying to tame the car down in that area to get it to go through there so that we can stay full throttle all the way. And I think we overstepped the mark a bit on that one, but we'll back it off a little bit and see if we can get a 3.9 out of it for the final against Peter.
And I think you've been nailing those starts all day. What's been the key to your success?
Oh, look, just knowing that you've got a car that goes straight. If you drop the clutch and the car turns right, you know, you're a bit cautious. The next time you go and drop the clutch, you go, what's going to happen? But when you got the car going dead straight, then you put that out of your mind and you just look at the tree and drop the clutch and flatten it.
Well, Peter, hasn't been your best day, but you're in the final.
I'm in the final. It's always a good day when you're in the final. Yeah, that left lane's a bit skatey. I hit second gear and it just went up in smoke. So, I mean, the smart thing is to get off of it. Hey, I'm in the final. It's good.
And you don't know what happened to Victor in that semi?
Oh, God, I think he just shook. I mean, like I said, I got off and I couldn't hear him, so I knew I was pretty comfortable. So yeah.
4.3. You backed off a hell of a lot at the end there.
Yeah. Look, I think after seeing what happened to Sean, you know, we just don't want to end up like that. So the smart thing is to get off it. I mean, and at the end of the day, you're not going to improve that much anyway. When the car, you're just heading, you're heading for an accident. When the car goes up like that in smoke, when you hit second, smart thing is to get off it.
So you actually got to second in that one?
Yeah, I hit. That's why I went back to the boys and said, hey, great improvement. I hit second gear. They go, yeah, good on you.
Well, we are set for an absolute barn burner of a final round here. Peter Kapiris and John Zappia. It is a rematch of the final round that we saw at Heathcote Park Raceways. We have a look at how they got there. Not easy runs for either driver, but the semi-final races in particular. John Zappia getting over the top of Grant O'Rourke and Peter Kapiris over the top of his old nemesis, Victor Bray. It's really becoming a pattern here, isn't it, Jason? We're seeing these guys matching up in the final round all the time now.
We're indeed seeing the same drivers starting to feature in the winner's circle. Well, will it be a repeat of round one just from a few weeks ago at Heathcote Raceway in Victoria, or will the tables be turned? Will it be Peter Kapiris as the winner, or will it be John Zappia? We're going to find out. Oh, as John Zappia gets really loose in the burnout. Peter Kapiris a lot more stable straight down the middle of the group, but I'm sure we'll see that again. John Zappia, loose as a goose.
Both drivers all the way down to the finish line as well in their burnouts. They love putting on a show for the crowd down here at South Coast Raceway here in Portland. Of course, it's not the first time that we've been down here to Portland. I think this is about the third or fourth time that the Door Slammers have come to visit. And as always, the crowd comes out in force. They really do show their appreciation. And as a result, John Zappia, he really wants to get a win on the board for his fans down here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, for Peter Kapiris to be able to go 2-0 up on John Zappia, the Zap won't like that too much, so he'll certainly be throwing everything at the South Coast Raceway surface. So, Jeff Cuttajar just doing what he needs to do in the effectively the passenger side of this Kapiris Brothers Racing Saratoga. And that is the man right there. It, of course, is Peter Kapiris, our fruiterer from Victoria, and John Zappia. Well, what can you say about this bloke that hasn't already been said?
He's a 5-time national champion in top door slammer. It's going to be a tough one, but Peter Kapiris is going to do his best to put him down 2-0 in final round so far this season. Both cars bumping into stage. This promises to be a fantastic final round. Huge hole shot to Peter Kapiris. He's out in front, but Zappia drives around him. A 4:01 with a 5. Fantastic win for John Zappia. Peter Kapiris problems with that 4:32, and John Zappia resets the track record yet again by 1,000th of a second. A very deserving winner here today, Jason.
Oh, indeed, and of course squaring the championship up is John Zappia. Looking at those speeds, I mean, 297 kilometres an hour, 298. He really has been the top-end man here at Portland this weekend. And congratulations going out to Zap, of course, as I mentioned, squaring it up. Look at the drive job from Peter Kapiris.
Wow, front wheels were in the air. He's got the car sideways in the braking area. He was driving that thing all the way. Look at it on the gear change. Picked up the front wheels. He had to pedal the car to get it to the finish line in one piece and still in his own lane. Great shot here, looking across side by side all the way to the finish line. That is what Door Slammer Racing is all about. Let's have a look at the points. John Zappia, the number one man after 2 rounds of racing. Peter Kapiris close behind on 195. Victor Bray, another strong showing this weekend on 130 points. Ben Bray, Russell Pavey, John Brunner, Grant O'Rourke and Frank Mamone rounding out the 8.
Peter Kapiris, you took off like a rocket. I thought you had that one.
Yeah, so did I. I mean, I got out there, punched second, and it sort of got a bit skatey and probably started in a bit longer than I should have. But yeah, I mean, like John was always going to be hard to beat in the right lane. But no, look, it's all good. You know, crowd liked it. It was a good weekend, so no, it's all good.
Bit of drama before there. He had the better lane. A bit of oil went down from the previous. I think he was considering actually swapping lanes. What were your thoughts on that?
Oh, look, I know the guys here. They do a good job on a clean-up. So I was hoping he was going to swap lanes, because I knew they'd bring that lane right up straight away. So there was no problem in the right lane. But look, like I said, I mean, John's always hard to beat. I mean, everyone's hard to beat. But yeah, I knew he'd be going for it. And obviously we did too. We hit it a lot harder off the start line. That's probably why I got out first. But yeah, like I said, I hit second and it was just all over for me. So,
how many track records do you want to break in one day?
Oh, all of them. No, that was good. We were hoping for a 3-second pass, but the Fook striker Monaro took off like a rocket. But and I knew Pete was out in front on his hole shot, but it's when it got to that where the track had a bit of oil on it, started to rattle hard and I got blurred vision, but I knew I was roughly in the centre of the track. I just hung on, shifted gears, and we got there a bit sideways right up the end through the finish line. But then I saw, after the blur stopped, I saw Pete wasn't in front of me, and I thought, oh, that's good. pulled the chute and we're here and we've finally done it. We've won it every 8th mile track we've been to in the 2 years that we've been there. We've either won once or twice or come runner-up at Heathcote and a win there. So yeah, we're pretty happy. We're just keen to do the northern ones at Gladstone and Mackay later in the year, June, July and August. But yeah, no, we love it.
After 2 rounds of the Slamfest Championship, the battle is starting to heat up, and round 3 of the series promises to be just as spectacular. On behalf of myself, Jason Bean and Rusty Gregory, we'll see you next time.